Hello everyone, I'm Nika from the channel English Every Day. Are you new to learning English and find it difficult to understand when listening? Don't worry, today I'm going to help you overcome this challenge with an easy A1 level listening exercise. This will be a great opportunity for you to test your listening comprehension. No need to stress, I'll guide you through how to listen and understand each part step by step. Level A1 is the first step in your English learning journey. If you're just starting out, this is the perfect chance to get familiar with simple dialogues. Today's listening will cover basic topics, such as asking about someone's health and introducing yourself. These are very common and useful subjects for daily conversations. I'll first play the dialogue slowly so you can follow along, and then we'll listen to it at a normal speed. Remember, to improve your listening skills, you need to listen repeatedly. I'll also explain important vocabulary and sentence structures in the dialogue. And don't forget, after each section, I'll ask some questions to check your comprehension. This self-checking will help you feel like you're taking a mini quiz, and you'll see yourself improving each day. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to English Every Day for more useful lessons. Now, let's start the lesson. Let's see how much of the A1 listening you can understand. Let's start with the very first phrase, which is also one of the most commonly used by native speakers in casual conversations. That phrase is, "How's it going?" Right from the beginning of this video, I mentioned that if you want to speak English like a native speaker, you need to use simple and natural expressions, just like how they speak in everyday life. "How's it going?" is a perfect example. You probably won't find it in textbooks or grammar guides, but it's a very common greeting that shows friendliness and ease, capturing the spirit of daily communication. This phrase means, "How are things going?" or "How have you been?" It's similar in meaning to "How are you?" but it sounds much more relaxed and casual. While "How are you?" might feel a bit formal or polite, "How's it going?" feels more natural and is great for talking with friends, friendly co-workers, or people you've met before. The pronunciation of this phrase is "How's it going?" Native speakers often link the words together and say it faster, like "How's it going?" That's how it naturally sounds in real-life conversation. Let me give you a few examples to help you understand how to use it. Example 1. You see an old friend on the street. Instead of saying, "Hello, how are you?" you smile and say, "Hey, how's it going?" The other person might reply, "Pretty good, you," which means "I'm doing well, how about you?" Example 2. You walk into the office in the morning and greet a coworker. You could say, "Morning, Tom, how's it going?" This helped us start the conversation in a friendly, easygoing way without being too formal. Example 3. You see someone again later in the week. You might say, "Hey, how's it going since Monday?" meaning, "How have things been since we last talked?" As you can see, this simple phrase can open up many real-life situations. Here's a little tip. When someone asks you "How's it going?" you don't have to give a detailed answer. Native speakers often keep it short and say things like "good," "pretty good," "not bad," or "same as usual." Most importantly, practice saying it naturally. Try speaking in front of a mirror or record your voice and listen to your pronunciation so you can improve step by step. So now we've learned our very first phrase. Try using it today. The next time you meet someone, just say, "Hey, how's it going?" You'll be surprised how much easier it is to start a conversation. And now let's move on to the next phrase, which is just as common. That is, what's up? Point 2. Playing the listening exercise. Now we will listen to a simple dialogue suitable for A1 level. This is an important step to help you get familiar with how native speakers communicate in everyday situations. I will first play the dialogue at a slow speed so you can easily follow each word and sentence. Don't worry if you don't understand everything immediately, as I will explain it in detail afterward. Pay attention to each vocabulary word in the dialogue and try to understand the meaning of the sentences. For example, you will hear simple phrases like, "How's it going?" or "What's up?" These are common greetings you will often encounter in daily conversations, especially when meeting friends, co-workers, or people you know. After listening the first time at a slow speed, I will play the dialogue again at normal speed. At this point, you will notice the speed of speech is faster, but don't worry. You've had enough time to understand the meaning of the conversation, and it will be easier to follow the second time. This is how you become familiar with the natural tone and faster speech of native speakers. One useful tip when practicing listening is to pay attention to the phrases or vocabulary words that you didn't understand in the first round. You can pause the video and write down the new words to study further. After listening again, you will find that you begin to understand better and can recognize the words you didn't know the first time. In addition to listening practice, you can try using the shadowing technique. This is a very effective listening method where you repeat the sentences that native speakers say. This will help you improve your pronunciation while also getting familiar with the emphasis and rhythm native speakers use. You can start with a few simple sentences, then gradually practice with longer ones. An important point is that when practicing listening, you don't need to understand every single word. Instead, try to catch the main idea of the conversation and feel the tone of the speaker. This is a crucial step in improving your listening comprehension skills. Listening practice every day will help you improve this skill significantly. You can try listening to this dialogue several times a day to memorize vocabulary and sentence structures. You can also try listening to other English videos or podcasts to get familiar with various accents and communication styles. Lastly, remember that listening is a long-term process that requires patience. You won't understand everything immediately, but with each practice, you will gradually feel more confident and your listening skills will improve. Be persistent and try listening to more lessons to help yourself progress every day. Point 3. Explaining important vocabulary and sentence structures. In this section, we will go over some important vocabulary and sentence structures that appear in the A1 level dialogue. Mastering vocabulary and understanding sentence structures is a key element in improving your communication skills in English. First, let's take a look at some basic vocabulary in the dialogue. One of the most common phrases is "How's it going?" This phrase is used to ask about someone's situation, feelings, or work. It's very simple to use, but gives a more relaxed and natural feeling compared to the question, "How are you?" which can sound a bit formal. "How's it going?" is typically used when you meet friends, co-workers, or people you know. The word "going" in this phrase means happening or progressing. For example, you might ask someone, "How's work going?" to check how their work is going, or "How's it going with your project?" to ask about the progress of a project. Next, let's look at the sentence structure. The structure of the sentence, "How's it going?" is very simple and easy to understand. It's a question in the form of "How is it going?" But native speakers often shorten istas to make it easier and quicker to say. This is one of the typical features of everyday communication, which makes the sentence sound more natural and faster. When you hear this phrase, you'll notice that native speakers say it quickly, linking the words together, like "How's it going?" In addition to the question, "How's it going?" another important sentence structure you can learn is the simple response. Usually, when a native speaker asks, "How's it going?" they don't expect a detailed answer. Short responses like "good," "pretty good," or "not bad" are very natural in everyday conversation. These responses keep the conversation flowing without needing too much detail. It's important to note that using short answers like these doesn't mean you are being impolite, but rather, it's just how native speakers communicate in informal situations. You don't need to give a complicated answer. A short, natural response is enough. Understanding these vocabulary words and sentence structures in the dialogue will help you use them more flexibly in daily life. With regular practice, you'll find that communicating in English becomes much easier and more natural. Point 4. Asking simple questions to engage in conversation. Now that we've covered important vocabulary and sentence structures, let's move on to how you can actively engage in a conversation using simple questions. Asking questions is one of the best ways to keep a conversation flowing and show interest in the other person. In this section, I'll explain how to ask questions in a natural and friendly way, just like native speakers do in everyday situations. When someone asks you, "How's it going?" you can naturally respond with a simple answer like "good," "pretty good," or "not bad." However, to keep the conversation going, it's important to ask follow-up questions. This shows that you're interested in what the other person has to say and helps to create a more engaging and balanced conversation. For example, after answering "How's it going?" you can ask something like, "And you?" This is a very common and simple way to return the question. It's short, friendly, and keeps the conversation going without making it awkward or overly formal. Another great follow-up question is, "What have you been up to?" This phrase is often used when you haven't seen the person in a while and want to know what they've been doing. It's a casual and easy way to show interest in their activities. For instance, after hearing "How's it going?" and replying with "good," you can follow up by asking, "What have you been up to lately?" Another useful question is, "How's everything going?" This can be a bit more general, and it's perfect if you want to ask how things are going in a person's life in a broader sense. It's similar to "How's it going?" but can sound a little more open-ended, giving the other person room to talk about different aspects of their life, like work, health, or personal projects. If you're talking with someone you know well or a close friend, you could ask, "How's life?" or "How's everything?" These are informal, friendly ways to ask someone about their well-being without sounding too stiff or formal. When you ask these questions, make sure to listen actively to the response. Native speakers often follow up with their own comments or add to the conversation based on what the other person says. For example, if someone says, "I've been really busy with work," you could respond with, "Oh, that sounds tough. What kind of work are you doing?" This keeps the conversation flowing naturally and helps you practice listening and responding in a relaxed way. Remember, the goal is to keep the conversation light and engaging. Don't worry too much about making it perfect. Just focus on being friendly, asking simple questions, and showing interest in the other person. With practice, you'll find that starting conversations and keeping them going becomes much easier. Point 5. Effective listening tips to improve your English. Now that you've learned how to ask simple questions and keep a conversation flowing, let's focus on improving your listening skills. Listening is an essential part of communication, and it plays a crucial role in helping you understand others and respond naturally. In this section, I'll share some effective listening tips that will help you improve your ability to understand native speakers and feel more confident in conversations. First, one of the best tips for improving your listening skills is to listen regularly. The more you listen to English, the more familiar you will become with different accents, pronunciations, and conversational patterns. Try to expose yourself to English as much as possible. Listen to podcasts, watch movies, TV shows, or even YouTube videos in English. The more you listen, the better you'll understand how native speakers use the language in real-life situations. Another great listening tip is to use subtitles. When you're watching something in English, turn on subtitles in English. This will help you connect spoken words with their written forms and improve your vocabulary. As you read the subtitles, try to listen carefully to how the words are pronounced and how sentences are structured. This will help you understand the rhythm and flow of English conversations. If you're listening to a podcast or a video, it's also a good idea to pause and repeat. If you don't understand a word or a sentence, don't be afraid to pause and replay it. This way, you can listen to it more carefully and try to catch the meaning. You can also repeat the sentence after the speaker, which is called shadowing. This technique will help you improve both your listening and speaking skills by mimicking the pronunciation and intonation of the native speaker. Additionally, try to focus on key words and phrases. When listening to a conversation, you don't need to understand every single word. Instead, focus on the key words and phrases that carry the main meaning of the sentence. Native speakers often speak quickly, and it's not always possible to catch every word. However, by understanding the key points, you'll still be able to follow the conversation and respond appropriately. One more important tip is to practice listening in different contexts. English is spoken in many different situations, and the way people speak changes depending on the context. For example, the language used in a casual conversation with friends is different from a formal conversation in a business meeting. Practice listening to a variety of situations to help you become more adaptable and comfortable with the language. Lastly, be patient with yourself. Listening comprehension takes time, and it's normal to feel frustrated at times. Don't worry if you don't understand everything right away. With consistent practice, you'll notice improvement over time. Remember, every time you listen, you're getting closer to your goal of speaking and understanding English like a native speaker. By practicing these listening tips, you'll be able to improve your listening comprehension, understand more of what people are saying, and feel more confident in your English conversations. Keep practicing, stay patient, and you'll continue to make progress. Point 6. Improving your speaking with natural phrasing. As you've learned in previous sections, listening and asking simple questions are essential to keeping a conversation going. However, speaking naturally is just as important. If you want to sound more like a native speaker, you need to focus on using natural phrasing, just like they do in everyday conversations. In this section, I'll share some tips on how to speak more naturally and confidently in English. First, one key to sounding natural when speaking English is to use contractions. Native speakers use contractions all the time in casual conversations. For example, instead of saying, "How is it going?" they will often say, "How's it going?" Instead of "I am," they say, "I am." And instead of "what is," they say, "what's." Using contractions makes you sound more fluent and relaxed when speaking, so try to incorporate them into your daily practice. Next, it's important to link your words together when speaking. In casual conversations, native speakers don't always pronounce each word clearly. Instead, they often link words together, making the sentence sound smoother and faster. For example, instead of saying, "How is it going?" with a pause between each word, it may sound like, "How's it going?" or "What's up?" may sound like "What's up?" This is completely natural in everyday English, and practicing this way will help you sound more like a native speaker. Another tip to speak more naturally is to use fillers. Fillers are words or sounds that native speakers use while thinking or pausing during a conversation. Common fillers include words like you know, like, and well. These fillers give you time to think and make your speech flow more smoothly. For instance, if you're talking and need a moment to gather your thoughts, you might say, "Well, I think that," or, "That's a good question." While fillers shouldn't be overused, they're helpful for sounding more fluent and less robotic. In addition, practice using idiomatic expressions. Native speakers often use idioms, expressions whose meanings are different from the literal meanings of the individual words. Phrases like "What's up?" "How's it going?" and "Long time no see" are idiomatic expressions that make your speech sound more natural. Learning and using these common expressions will help you connect with native speakers more easily and add variety to your conversations. Also, don't be afraid to make mistakes. One of the biggest obstacles to speaking naturally is the fear of making mistakes. Remember, everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. The more you practice speaking, the more confident you will become, and over time, you'll start to speak more smoothly and with fewer pauses. Finally, practice with a partner. Speaking with someone else is one of the best ways to improve your speaking skills. Find a language partner or a tutor and practice having simple conversations. If you don't have someone to practice with, you can also speak to yourself, repeat sentences, or even talk to a mirror. The more you speak, the more natural it will feel. By focusing on using contractions, linking words, adding fillers, and practicing idiomatic expressions, you will start to sound more natural and confident when speaking English. Remember, practice is key. And the more you practice speaking, the better you'll become at having real conversations with native speakers. Keep practicing and don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's all part of the learning process. Point 7. Building confidence in conversations. Now that we've covered various techniques to help you improve your listening, speaking, and understanding of English, it's time to focus on building your confidence in conversations. Confidence is one of the most important factors in becoming fluent in any language, and it plays a huge role in how effectively you communicate. In this section, I'll share some practical tips that will help you build more confidence when speaking English. First, embrace mistakes as part of the learning process. It's natural to make mistakes when learning a new language, and it's actually a good sign because it means you're trying and practicing. Don't let fear of making errors hold you back from speaking. Native speakers will appreciate your effort to communicate in their language, and mistakes are a normal part of the process. Over time, you'll learn from them and become more confident. One effective way to build confidence is to practice speaking regularly. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll feel speaking English in real-life situations. You don't need to wait until you're perfect to start speaking. Begin by having simple conversations and gradually challenge yourself with more complex topics. Practicing every day, even if it's just for a few minutes, will help you get used to the language and feel more confident in your abilities. Another helpful tip is to prepare in advance. Before having a conversation in English, think about possible topics and phrases that you might use. This will reduce anxiety and help you feel more prepared when you're speaking. For example, if you know you're going to meet a friend and have a conversation, you can think about common topics like how things have been going, work updates, or weekend plans. This preparation will give you a sense of control and boost your confidence during the conversation. Focus on communication, not perfection. Sometimes people get caught up in worrying about making every sentence grammatically correct or using the perfect word. While grammar is important, don't let it stop you from expressing yourself. Native speakers often make mistakes too, but what matters most is being able to get your message across. Focus on conveying your thoughts clearly, and don't be afraid to use simpler words if it helps you communicate more effectively. Another way to build confidence is to immerse yourself in the language. Surround yourself with English as much as possible. Listen to English podcasts, watch TV shows and movies, and try to read books or articles in English. The more exposure you get, the more familiar the language will become, and this will help reduce any anxiety or fear you may have when speaking. You'll also begin to naturally pick up vocabulary, idioms, and phrases that will make your conversations feel more authentic and confident. Celebrate small wins. Every time you have a successful conversation in English, no matter how short or simple, take a moment to appreciate your progress. These small victories will encourage you to keep practicing and help you realize that you're improving over time. Celebrate your efforts, even if the conversation wasn't perfect. Each step forward is an achievement. Finally, speak with people who are patient and supportive. Surround yourself with people who encourage your learning. This will make you feel more comfortable practicing, and you'll be more likely to take risks in conversations. Whether it's a language partner, a tutor, or friends who speak English, practicing with people who are understanding will give you the confidence to keep speaking and improving. Building confidence in speaking English takes time, but with regular practice, a positive attitude, and a focus on communication, you will notice gradual improvement. The key is not to be afraid of making mistakes and to embrace the learning process. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and with time, you'll find yourself speaking more naturally and confidently. In conclusion, improving your English speaking skills takes time, patience, and consistent practice. By focusing on listening, asking simple questions, using natural phrasing, and building your confidence, you can gradually develop the ability to communicate like a native speaker. Remember, speaking English is not about being perfect. It's about effectively conveying your thoughts and feeling comfortable in conversation. One of the most important things to remember is that making mistakes is a natural part of the learning process. Don't let fear of mistakes hold you back. Embrace each opportunity to speak, and with time, you'll see improvement. Whether you're chatting with a friend, a colleague, or a new acquaintance, try to keep the conversation light, friendly, and engaging. The more you practice, the more confident you will become. Also, don't forget to use the resources available to you, like listening to podcasts, watching English videos, and speaking with others. This consistent exposure to the language will help you improve your understanding, vocabulary, and pronunciation. As you practice, you'll become more comfortable with common phrases and sentence structures, making your speech sound more natural. Finally, always remind yourself that learning a new language is a journey, and every step you take brings you closer to your goal. Celebrate small wins along the way, whether it's having a short conversation or understanding a new phrase. Keep pushing forward, stay motivated, and you'll find that speaking English becomes second nature. Thank you for watching, and I hope these tips help you on your English learning journey. Keep practicing and don't forget to enjoy the process.